Welcome to my channel. If you like the content, please subscribe for more.
What to tell the kids? My wife cheated on me. I have 3 kids, 3, 7, and 9. My 7-year-old asks me all the time why I'm not with mommy. Do I just explain the whole thing, but age appropriate? Or tell them when they are older? X doesn't want to say anything because it makes her look bad. We have joint custody, so I have to talk to her all the time. So on one hand, I need to stay cordial with her, but on the other, it seems to be harder to move on when I'm not open and honest about things. With what we have told the kids so far, my 7-year-old probably thinks we are crazy not to get back together. The rest of the story is exactly the same as most other stories on here. Life was hard, and somebody who wasn't busy doing taxes, dishes, cooking, shoveling, etc. had lots of time to tell her how wonderful she is. Thanks. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1. She did something terrible to her family, but doesn't want to look bad. Makes total sense. Redditor 2. Counselors say when children are asking, what they really want to know is what is going to happen to them. So I like the explanation that explains that even though daddy and mommy are going to be living separately, both love and will take care of the child. I don't think there is anything wrong with telling children that are mature enough that mommy or has a boyfriend, and married people don't do that. Very often, in groups I've heard stories of older children that knew about the affair by seeing daddy kissing the babysitter or mommy having a friend over while daddy is gone. Sometimes the betraying parent will even tell the children not to tell dad. Things like that damage children. They should not have to keep secrets from their parents. So I believe parents should spend time talking to kids and tell as much as the truth as possible without making one parent out to be the bad guy. Kids will figure that part out on their own soon enough. Redditor 3. I would tell the 7-year-old that mommy decided she didn't love daddy and love someone else. Just factual, no judgment. Move things regarding the kids to an app. You can communicate about them through that and minimize F2 contact. Update. I can't believe this is happening. I saw my wife with the other guy and my kids. I confronted her and she admitted it. I thought things were going well, but clearly they weren't. Now, I'm sitting here drunk and unsure what to do. The worst part is that my kids are caught in the middle of this mess. My 7-year-old keeps asking why I'm not with mommy anymore, and I don't know how to explain it to him. My thoughts were all mixed up. Do I tell him the truth? That mommy cheated on me with someone else? Or do I wait until he's older? I didn't know what to do at this point. My ex doesn't want to say anything because it makes her look bad and we have joint custody, so I have to talk to her all the time. It's hard to move on when I'm not open and honest about things. But how can I stay civil with her when all I can think about is the pain she's caused me? Edit. I did end up telling my kids the full truth. They were heartbroken, but they deserved to know. Now, I'm just trying to pick up the pieces and move on. But it's not easy. Every time I see my wife's face, I feel like I've been punched in the gut. I know I need to be strong for my kids, but it's hard when I'm struggling to keep it together myself. And now, here I am, drunk and alone, asking strangers on Reddit for help. I don't know what to do. How do I move on from this? How do I explain it to my kids? How do I stay civil with my ex when all I want to do is scream at her? I just need some advice. Please, Reddit, help me figure out what to do next. Update. I want to share an update with you guys about my divorce and how my kids have been incredibly supportive during this tough time. As you all know, my wife cheated on me, and it was devastating to say the least. It took me a while to gather the courage to tell my kids the truth, but when I did, they were just as heartbroken as I was. They may not understand everything that's going on, but they try their best to be there for me. My oldest child, who is only 12, has been an absolute rock for me. They make breakfast for me when they stay over and always check in to see how I'm doing. It's amazing to see how I'm doing. It's amazing to see how mature and supportive they are, despite everything that's happened. Unfortunately, my ex is making the divorce process a lot more difficult than it needs to be. She's trying to take advantage of the situation and reap me off, but I'm not going to let that happen. I've hired the best lawyers I could find to make sure that my rights are protected and that I get what I'm entitled to. It's a tough road ahead, but with the support of my kids, friends, and family, I know that I'll make it through. I just wanted to share this update and also ask for any advice or tips that you may have for dealing with a difficult divorce. Thank you all for listening. Update. It's been a few months since I filed for divorce, and the proceedings are still ongoing. To be honest, it's been a real financial burden on me. Between the lawyer fees, court costs, and other expenses, it's adding up to a significant amount of money that I simply can't afford. I knew going into this that it wouldn't be cheap, but I didn't anticipate just how much it would all add up. And what's worse is that my ex seems to be doing everything in her power to make the process even more expensive for me. She's been stalling and dragging things out as much as possible, which only serves to prolong the legal fees and other costs. It's been incredibly frustrating to say the least. I feel like I'm caught in a never-ending cycle of legal battles and financial stress. And while I know that I need to see this through to the end, it's hard not to feel overwhelmed and exhausted by the entire ordeal. What's been keeping me going, though, are my kids. Even though they don't fully understand the situation, they've been incredibly supportive throughout this entire process. My oldest has even started making breakfast for me when they stay over, which is a small but significant gesture that means the world to me. In the end, I know that I need to keep pushing forward and stay strong for my kids, but it's hard not to feel like I'm drowning in a sea of legal fees and financial stress. I just hope that this all comes to an end, stress. I just hope that this all comes to an end and that I can finally start to move on and rebuild my life. Last update. I'm happy to provide a positive update on my life after the divorce. It's been a few years now since the divorce proceedings, and I have to say, things have turned out better than I could have ever imagined. During the divorce, there were some difficult moments, especially when it came to the financial aspect of things. It was tough to see so much of my hard-earned money go towards lawyers and other expenses. However, in the end, I was able to secure a 50-50 split with my ex, and that has made all the difference. It's allowed me to maintain my lifestyle and provide for my children without any major disruptions. Speaking of my children, they have been an absolute blessing throughout this process. They were incredibly supportive, even though they didn't fully understand everything that was happening. They were always there for me, and I will always be grateful for that. One thing that did concern me at first was how the divorce would affect my kids as they grew up, but I have to say they have matured and grown so much in the last few years. They have had to deal with some tough emotions and situations, but they have come out on the other side stronger and more resilient. The only downside is that my kids seem to have developed a strong dislike for my mother, who was not always supportive of my decision to divorce. However, I have tried my best to help them understand that we all make mistakes, and forgiveness is key to moving forward. Overall, I'm just so grateful for everything that has happened since the divorce. It was a difficult and trying time, but I came out on the other side with a newfound sense of strength and appreciation for what really matters in life. Story 2. Greedy owner tries to rip off my friend, ends up paying him double. When I graduated college, my first job was at a local TV station owned by the worst human being I've ever met. This guy had money, but he would go to great lengths to avoid paying his bills by cheating and lying. One day, the owner signed a contract with Directive to become part of their broadcast package. This meant that we had only 2 months to upgrade our system to broadcast to Directive customers in the entire Bay Area. If we didn't meet the deadline, the owner would suffer a penalty per the contract. To help with the upgrade, the owner hired a friend of mine as a freelance consultant. My friend suggested a system that would automate the entire process for $15 QSD, but the owner refused to pay that much. Instead, he asked my friend to find a cheaper way and to pay for all the hardware up front and get reimbursed later. Knowing the owner's reputation, I warned my friend not to front the money because he wouldn't get paid back. But my friend ignored my advice, and the system was successfully upgraded on schedule. However, when my friend presented the bill, the owner started making excuses and tried to delay payment. That's when my friend revealed that in order to get the uplink working cheaply, someone had to come in every day and manually code the broadcast. Nobody else at the station knew how to do it except for him. So the owner could either pay my friend what he was owed plus a $2,000 month consulting fee, or the station would go dark and he'd have to pay the penalty to Directive. In the end, the owner paid up, but he ended up shelling out more than double the initial $15 cost. My friend happily collected his $2 a month consulting fee for almost a year before finally teaching someone else at the station how to do the coding. The morale of the story is that only thinking about short-term gain will always cost you more in the long run. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1. $2,000 a month for 30 days of work seems light for a consultant. Redditor 2. Too bad he didn't teach you how to code the broadcast. Easy money. Op answer. Nah, I left after 3 months. Couldn't take it anymore, what with the crappy salary and all the B. Just a few things that I've been through there. 1. The guy refused to do direct deposit, so you would have to make an appointment with him every month to get your check. He would make a point of not showing up to work on payday, and there's nothing you can do. 2. My first paycheck was $300 short when I asked why he looked me straight in the eyes and tried to gaslight me. Oh, it's what we had agreed on, don't you remember? 3. My first day I saw a bunch of people in suits walking around with clipboards. Another staff member told me that the building owner is trying to evict us because we haven't paid rent in 3 months. This is actually the owner's favorite move. He would enter into a contract, not pay, and demand to negotiate for a cheaper price. When the other side threatened to sue, his wife is a lawyer, so he's happy to go to court and drags things out. 4. When I first came on, he had just hired 15 news anchor, all young girls desperate to be on TV. Why does a local station need that many news anchor? Well, he would pay them minimum wage, put them to work selling ads on the phone, then makes a move on them. Those that agreed got to go on air. Those that don't usually quits. After just a couple of weeks, they were dropping like flies, and the few that actually got to go on air, we knew what was up. 5. The first week he took everyone out to dinner on him. I thought it was awfully generous until I realized that all the restaurant staffs were giving us the stink eyes. It turned out that this is another one of his scams. If you are a local business buying airtime on his channel, he would deliberately run the ads for longer than stipulated in the contract, then send you a bill and threaten to sue. You can either pay him, go to court, or give him free services, which is what was happening. I've never been more afraid of someone spitting into my food. Redditor 3. Thinking this was Kofi TV 20, James Gabbert prevented unionization, but their owners afterwards, granted, weren't exactly the best around either, so it could have been WW Don Cornwell too.